I never imagined that a casual glance at the hallway camera feed could unravel so much. My name is Ethan Miller. I'm 38 years old, clean-shaven, and like any other day, I thought this would be just another quiet evening at home. But it wasn't. Nothing about this night would be quiet ever again. It all started when I noticed the small camera blinking faintly in the hallway, a camera my wife had completely forgotten about. Or so I thought. A gift from a security company we'd installed years ago, forgotten among all the smart devices and tech clutter in the house. I had barely paid attention to it until a random curiosity struck me. I had always been meticulous about detail. Growing up, I was the kind of kid who noticed small changes, who observed before acting. That trait had helped me professionally, building my business quietly but effectively. My consulting firm had grown steadily over the past decade, though my wife never fully understood the hours I poured into every contract, every client, every operational challenge I helped solve. To her, I was Ethan, the husband, the man who came home every evening, made dinner occasionally, and was supportive but unobtrusive. That perception was perfect, until tonight. I picked up my tablet and opened the camera feed, expecting perhaps to see an empty hallway or our dog wandering aimlessly, but what I saw froze me. The hallway was empty for a moment. Then suddenly, my wife appeared. She was not alone. 2 friends followed her, whispering intensely. Her gestures were quick, nervous, almost conspiratorial. I leaned closer, realizing I could hear fragments of their conversation. "He has no idea," one of them said. "If he finds out," my wife whispered urgently. My heart started pounding. 1,000 possibilities ran through my mind. What could they possibly be hiding? Was it a surprise? A prank? Or something darker? I reminded myself. Curiosity can be dangerous, but I couldn't stop watching. Not now. The camera angle shifted slightly, and I could see my wife pull a small envelope from her purse. The contents were indistinguishable at first, but the way her hand shook suggested importance, secrecy. She glanced up, seemingly checking if anyone else was around. That split-second glance, it looked right at the camera, and then my stomach dropped. Did she know the feed was live? Or had she just assumed it was forgotten? Inactive like every other outdated tech in the house. I backed up slightly, trying to process the scene. This was my wife, someone I trusted implicitly, someone I had built a life with, someone I had shared every meaningful moment with, and yet here she was, engaging in a secretive conversation right in our own home, under my unknowing eyes. The CEO in me, yes, the part of me that built a multi-million-dollar consulting business kicked in. Observation before reaction. Analysis before confrontation. I watched, taking in every movement, every expression, every pause, the slight nervous glance at the living room, the careful placement of the envelope on the console, the way she whispered one last instruction before leaving the hallway, closing the door softly behind her. I sat back, the tablet heavy in my hands. My mind raced. I had always trusted her judgment. I had always believed in transparency, in honesty. But the camera feed had revealed a dimension I had never anticipated. Something she had assumed invisible, hidden from me, was very clearly not. I didn't confront her that night. I didn't ask questions. I stayed quiet, letting the image linger in my mind. My first instinct was to gather information, understand motives, separate imagination from reality. In business, decisions made on incomplete data can be catastrophic. At home, the stakes felt equally high. I reviewed the recording again, frame by frame, careful not to skip anything. I noticed small things I had missed the first time, the way her fingers lingered on the envelope, the subtle nod between her and one of her friends, the anxious bite of her lip. Every detail told a story I hadn't yet fully understood, but one I knew I needed to. By the end of the night, one thing was clear. Trust can be fragile, and secrets, even small ones, have a way of altering everything. I had entered the hallway intending to satisfy casual curiosity. I left it with a reality I could no longer ignore, and the question that kept me awake for hours was simple, terrifying, and unavoidable. Why? I had two options: confront immediately or gather more evidence, more context, more understanding. And anyone who knows me knows I don't act without clarity. I would need to know exactly what I had stumbled upon before saying a word. That was how the night ended. A simple observation, a forgotten camera, and a life-altering revelation. And I had no idea that the days to follow would test everything: trust, love, and the very foundation of our marriage in ways I could never have imagined. The morning after that recording, I couldn't focus. Every routine task felt heavier. The coffee tasted bitter. The sunlight streaming through the kitchen window looked harsher, more revealing, as if it demanded answers I wasn't ready to give myself. I kept replaying the footage in my mind, the envelope, the whispered instructions, the anxious glances. My first instinct had been patience, observation. But now, the questions multiplied. Why had she acted so secretively? What was in that envelope? Who was involved? I told myself, don't jump to conclusions. I'd been in business long enough to know how quickly assumptions can ruin a decision. But at home, emotions are messy. Logic competes with fear. Trust competes with suspicion, and mine was beginning to fray. By mid-morning, I found myself standing near the hallway again, tablet in hand. The camera feed offered no new angles, no hidden clues. But then I noticed something I hadn't seen before. A small scrap of paper slipped under the console, partially hidden. My curiosity overrode caution. I picked it up. The handwriting was unmistakable, her handwriting. Careful, neat, deliberate, and the note contained fragments of instructions, names, and times. Nothing immediately alarming, but context mattered. The pieces didn't yet form a picture, but my gut told me they were important. I thought back to our marriage. We had built a life on transparency, or so I had believed. We shared bills, schedules, plans, hopes, dreams. Every major decision, I had assumed, would be mutual. And yet this secrecy undermined that foundation. I debated confrontation. Do I ask her now, while anger is still simmering? Or do I wait, gather more information, and approach it calmly? The consultant in me chose the latter. Observation first, understanding second, confrontation only when necessary. Later that afternoon, I went about my usual routine, pretending nothing had happened. But every sound in the house made me pause. The hum of the refrigerator, the shuffle of papers, even the faint clatter of her heels felt suspicious. It was during one of these pauses that she returned from the grocery store. She hummed lightly, as if nothing had happened. I waited. She unpacked, carefully placing items in cabinets. The envelope, which had been my first clue, was nowhere in sight. I cleared my throat. "Hey," I said casually. "Did you leave something in the hallway yesterday?" She looked up, startled, then smiled nervously. "What do you mean?" I didn't answer immediately. I let the silence stretch, just enough to make her uncomfortable. "You know," I said finally, "the camera, the recording." Her smile faltered. A flicker of guilt passed across her face. She quickly masked it. "Oh, that. It's nothing, Ethan. Just a surprise I was planning. For friends. You don't need to worry." I studied her expression, noting the slight tension around her eyes, the tight line of her mouth. Something wasn't adding up. "Friends?" I asked slowly. "Whose friends?" "Just work friends. You know, from my old job," she replied evasively. I didn't press further. Not yet, but the seed of doubt had been planted. That night, I replayed the footage again. Every whisper, every glance, every movement. I noticed more subtleties. The way she paused when she thought I wasn't watching, the urgency in her tone, the nervous shifting of her feet. It wasn't normal. It wasn't playful. I realized then that the situation wasn't just about secrecy. It was about trust. And trust, once questioned, is a delicate thing. Over the next few days, I carefully observed her behavior. Small patterns emerged. Slightly guarded movements when I entered a room. Quick glances at her phone when she thought I wasn't looking. Conversations cut short when I approached. Each observation confirmed my fear. There was something significant she wasn't telling me, But I reminded myself again, jump too soon, and it could all backfire. Misinterpretation could destroy what we had built. So I waited. I gathered details, quietly, patiently, like a strategist mapping the board before making a move. And then one evening, everything changed. I had returned home early from a meeting. The house was quiet, almost eerily so. I went to the hallway to check the camera feed once more, and that's when I saw it. The envelope had been moved, not hidden this time, but clearly visible, placed in a location that suggested urgency. I knew then that I couldn't wait any longer. The moment for confrontation was near, and I also knew this confrontation would define the next chapter of our lives, because some truths, once discovered, cannot be ignored. That evening, I waited until she was finishing dinner. The usual clatter of cutlery and soft background music filled the kitchen, but my mind was elsewhere. I had rehearsed what I would say hundreds of times, each version calmer than the last, yet each carrying the same urgent question. Why? Can we talk? I asked quietly, setting my fork down. My tone was steady, but firm. She looked up, surprised. About what? She asked, trying to sound casual, but her eyes flickered briefly, just long enough to betray unease. The cameras, I said, keeping my voice calm, careful not to accuse. The recording. I saw everything yesterday. Her expression shifted. For a second, I thought she might cry, or run, or lie. But she just paused, biting her lip, glancing down at her plate. Ethan, it's not what it looks like, she whispered. I leaned forward slightly. Then explain it to me. I'm listening. She took a deep breath. Her hands trembled subtly as she folded them in front of her. I didn't know you'd see it. It was supposed to be private, just between me and a friend. It was a surprise plan, that's all. A surprise plan, I echoed, keeping my voice even. A surprise plan that involved whispered instructions in our hallway. And why the envelope? Her eyes filled with hesitation. She looked at me, then away. It's complicated. I didn't want to worry you or make you feel left out. I thought it would be easier if I handled it myself first. I took a breath. Handled what? Exactly? Her gaze met mine finally. Her voice trembled, but she spoke. It's about the family. My parents. They've been pressuring me for months about things I don't even know how to handle. The envelope. It's proof of what they've been planning, in case something goes wrong. I stared at her, the weight of her words sinking in. Planning what? They were trying to manipulate me, to control choices I thought were mine, she admitted, voice low, and I didn't know how to stop them. I thought if I prepared in secret I could protect us, protect you, too. My heart pounded. The secrecy, the whispers, the anxious glances, it all made sense now, but it still felt like betrayal. You didn't tell me because... I trailed off, trying to grasp the situation. Because I was afraid, she said softly. Afraid you'd be angry. Afraid you'd see me as weak. I wanted to handle it on my own. I leaned back, silent, letting her words sink. Fear, secrecy, and love all tangled together in ways I hadn't anticipated. Finally, I spoke. You should have trusted me. Secrets like this, they don't stay hidden. They grow. She nodded, tears forming at the edges of her eyes. I know. I made a mistake. I softened, reaching out to take her hand. I don't blame you entirely, but next time, we face things together. No more secrets. No more whispers behind cameras. She looked relieved, as if a weight had lifted. Promise, she whispered. Promise, I said. But even as I said it, a part of me knew this was only the beginning. The envelope, the conversation, and the pressure from her family hinted at deeper complications I hadn't yet uncovered. And I had a feeling the next days would reveal more than either of us were ready for. Because some secrets, once discovered, start a chain reaction. And trust, once shaken, needs more than words to repair. The next morning I woke up with a knot in my stomach. Last night's conversation had brought clarity, but also more questions. If the envelope held proof of her family's interference, then there had to be more to it, more that she didn't yet feel ready to share. I decided to take a cautious approach. Instead of confronting her again immediately, I went through the hallway quietly, retracing the moments I had seen on the recording. My eyes fell on the spot where the envelope had been placed. It was gone, but the feeling of urgency lingered. Something about its presence still clung to the air like an unsolved puzzle. Later, when she stepped out to run errands, I seized the opportunity. I knew I had to look inside. The moment had come where patience had to meet action. I found it tucked away in a drawer, exactly where she had hidden it after last night. I opened it carefully. Inside were letters, notes, and some documents. Some were formal notices, others scribbled warnings, and then there it was. A small contract-like page outlining her parents' intentions. To manipulate her financial decisions, influence property transfers, and control outcomes in ways I had never imagined. I sat there, stunned. The whispers, the secrecy, the anxiety she had displayed in the hallway, it all made sense now. But it also angered me. Not at her, but at the situation. At her family for creating circumstances that forced her into secrecy, and at the way trust had been manipulated. When she returned, I didn't immediately confront her. Instead, I waited for the right moment. We sat down for coffee, the morning sun soft on the kitchen counters. I slid the envelope toward her. "I know everything now," I said gently. Her eyes widened. For a second, I saw panic, but then relief. "You looked?" she whispered. "Yes," I said. "And now we need to decide together how to handle this. No more whispers, no more secret plans." She nodded, tears welling up. "I was trying to protect us. I didn't know how else to handle them." "I understand," I said calmly. "But the real protection is honesty. From both of us." Over the next few hours, we went through each document carefully. Every plan, every warning, every note from her parents, it was all laid out. And slowly, the bigger picture emerged. Her parents had been orchestrating a level of control I hadn't expected. But thanks to her foresight, the evidence was clear. And now we could respond strategically. I realized then that our marriage had been tested not by lack of love, but by external manipulation. And now, with full clarity, we could regain control not just of our decisions, but of trust itself. By the evening, we had a plan. Together, openly. No cameras, no whispers, only conversation and strategy. And for the first time in days, I felt relief, not just because the truth was uncovered, but because we had faced it together. Yet, even as we moved forward, I knew the tension was far from over. Her parents' influence was not gone, and there would be consequences for every decision we made. But the foundation was set. We were aligned, united, and ready. Some secrets, once revealed. Force, action. And tonight, action was inevitable. That evening, we decided it was time. No more waiting. No more secrecy. The evidence in the envelope, the whispered warnings, and the recordings had given us the clarity we needed. We drove to her parents' house. I stayed calm on the outside, but inside, adrenaline coursed through me. I had learned long ago that measured action always trumps impulsive reaction. Tonight, the stakes were higher than any business negotiation I was, defending trust, love, and the life we had built together. Her parents opened the door, surprised to see us. My wife stepped forward first, holding the envelope carefully, as if it were a shield. "I need to show you something," she said firmly. Her father's eyes narrowed, her mother tensed. I remained silent, letting her take the lead. She opened the envelope and laid the documents on the table. Every note, every plan, every subtle attempt to manipulate her decisions was visible now. Her father's jaw tightened. "Where did you get this?" he demanded. "I found it," she said steady. "And I've shown it to Ethan." She gestured toward me. "We need honesty now, not control." Her mother tried to intervene, but my wife raised a hand. "No, this stops tonight." The room fell silent. The gravity of years of manipulation laid bare in front of them. For the first time, my wife wasn't hesitant, and I wasn't passive. Together, we presented the facts calmly, each point precise, every claim backed with evidence. Her father broke the silence first. I didn't realize. You didn't want to realize, I said firmly, stepping forward. And it forced secrecy. But hiding the truth from the people who trust you most doesn't protect them. It only weakens them. Her father's eyes softened, but there was no immediate apology. Pride doesn't vanish instantly, but the acknowledgement was there. Her mother's lips trembled. We only wanted what was best, she whispered. And control is not care, I replied. It's interference. And now, it ends. There was a long pause. Then, in a quiet but powerful tone, her father said something I never expected. You've both handled this better than I could have. I underestimated your strength. I looked at my wife. She met my gaze with tears welling in her eyes, but pride too. We had faced secrecy, manipulation, and whispers, and emerged unbroken. That night, driving home, we didn't speak much. Words weren't necessary. Trust had been restored. Respect had been earned. And the camera's once symbols of secrecy were now irrelevant. I realized something important. Trust is fragile, yes. Secrets can shatter it. But honesty, courage, and standing together can rebuild it stronger than before. My wife reached for my hand, and for the first time in days, I felt the weight lift from both our shoulders. The hallway cameras could have shown me betrayal, but instead, they revealed resilience, unity, and the unbreakable bond between us. We arrived home, lights dim, the house quiet. I looked around, at the familiar walls and empty hallway, and I knew one thing for certain. No camera, no whisper, no secret could ever control what we had built together. We had faced the truth, and we had chosen each other.